World. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whichever the case may be, depending on when and where you're seeing this. Most of those jumping on will already know who I am. For those that don't, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Robert Fuller. I'm a gentleman that went from standing on a corner in East St. Louis, immersed in horrible life choices, really just spiraling as far down as I can go, to an individual who now is just loving life, can't wait to open his eyes in the morning, is building businesses, is going places. I do these videos to share the insights, the struggles, the understandings, the changes in philosophy that I've had to make within myself to make these changes in my life, and to try to share them with the world that they might help somebody else, also to help ingrain them in myself. Good morning, Miss Inspiration. How you doing this morning, Christina? I know that you're going through a few things. Just know that you're in my prayers, keeping you in my thoughts and prayers, ma'am. I'm going to share this. Bear with me 1 second. I know this. I always feel funny about taking time to share this, but I think that it's a powerful thing to do. So I hope everybody's morning is off to a great start. Share to a page. Mine is, it's always a blessing. If I wake up with breath in my lungs, I'm a happy man, because past that, all things are possible, right? It is Thursday. The weekend's approaching fast. Hope everybody's ready for it. We'll just try one today and see how that goes. Let's see. Hey, oh, most definitely, Miss Christina, you mean a lot. Good morning, Miss Andrew Lee. Great to see you live. Glad you could jump on this morning. Let me move this down. Adam, good morning, sir. How are you? Always a pleasure to see you. You're definitely one of a cornerstone of inspiration for me, sir. Good morning, Mark. Thank you for jumping on. Mark, a little tongue-tied this morning. Good morning, Mark. Thank you for jumping on, sir. Man, just loving life, right? Running a little bit late this morning. Not to brag, I had an influx of orders in the e-commerce store that caught me by surprise and kind of held me up. So always good news when something like that happens, right? Been building for a while, so it's great to see. Miss Bobby, great to see you jump on live. I appreciate that. Said, what's up, Jason? I don't see Jason on here. Jason, hi, I guess. Today's subject, right? What are the single most powerful tools that we all have at our disposal? Oh, Jason Grout, man, Jason, great to see you live, sir. Thank you for taking time out. Man, Adam and Jason are guys that I've known since I was way back, right? They know how far I've come, man. I appreciate y'all, especially Jason. Jason's seen me at some of my worst, so bless you for jumping on, sir. What are the single most powerful tools that we all have at our disposal to really shape our life? And it's a simple answer, right? But I'm going to kind of go through a few things. So once I give the answer, please don't just jump off. Stay with me, right? The answer is questions, right? The questions we ask ourselves. Our mind is consistently asking two questions, right? What is this, and what does it mean? And based on the answers to those two questions, first, of course, more questions sprout off of those two. But I think those are the two core questions. When I thought about it, I appreciate that, Jason. I really do. He said, looking good. You have no idea how much that means, especially coming from somebody that knows how far down I went at one point. So I appreciate you, sir. But based off those two questions, more questions sprout. But the important part of those two questions is they determine whether the brain decides to delete information or whether it decides to keep it. And then if it decides to keep it, what to do with it, how to react to it, what it means, what it symbolizes, what value it holds in the circumstance, what it inspires us to do. But the important part to remember is that those two questions determine whether the brain deletes the information or holds on to it. See, our brain takes in so much information, right? They can't even build a computer that can simulate more than 2 seconds, I think is the most they've had. And that was like 100 and something computers strung together. It was ridiculous. But they can't even build a computer that can simulate more than 2 seconds of the information that the brain takes in at all day, every day, right? So all that information, the brain doesn't keep most of it. It doesn't hold in everything that it sees, everything that it smells, everything that it senses, everything that registers. Most of it doesn't even register, right? The brain throws it out immediately. So those two questions determine which information stays or goes, all right? And the important part about that is because it's so easy for us to get caught into a cycle where we really feel like life is just horrible. Like everything is going against us. Like there's nothing to be happy about, or there's nothing empowering about our circumstances, or there's nothing good going for us. And the truth is, because of what you're focused on, and what chooses your focus is the questions that you ask yourself, the brain is determining which information to hold on to. So if you're constantly focusing on things that are going wrong, if you're programmed yourself to stare at all the trials and all the tribulations, all the challenges, all the difficulties, all the things that you're facing within your life that aren't going right. Hey, James, thanks for jumping on. If you're constantly programming yourself to focus on all the things that are going wrong, that's all you're going to see. The brain is throwing out everything that's going good for yourself. The other important thing to remember about questions is that if you ask a question with enough emotion, if you ask yourself a question with enough emotion, with an hey, Mr. Smash, thank you for jumping on, with an expectation for your brain, for you to know the answer, for you to find the answer, and give your brain the time to find the answer, it will find the answer. Look, we don't talk about him much in school, and actually I didn't hear about him until I actually started really getting immersed in personal development. Tesla, right? The car company, they named the car company after him. Tesla is a guy way back in, I think it was the 18th century. I should have brushed up on it before I decided to add him in the video, right? Way back in the 18th century, Tesla was a guy, he had no college, no real immersion in any type of education, no extra teaching or tutelage, was just an ordinary guy who went to bed one night and woke up the next morning and wrote down electrical theory that they still use today. This is a guy that out of nowhere went to bed and woke up and wrote down electrical theory out of nowhere. So I'm a firm believer that within our minds is the answer to any question we could ever hope to find, or we could ever hope to ask. That if we really ask our minds the right question, it will find us the answer. Now, the problem is, and at least for my life was, the questions that I asked myself were things like, well, why does this always happen to me? Well, why can't I win? Well, why can't I do it? Well, why aren't I enough? Why can't I get past this? And see, and here's the problem, right? Those questions, number one, are disempowering. But they're disempowering because they presuppose that you can't do it. They tell yourself that you're not enough. They tell you that, yes, this is what you're always going to have. They tell you that you are never going to be able to get past that. And if that's what you're telling yourself, then that's where you're going to be. So what I started doing was I started asking myself questions like, well, how can I get past this? Or how can I how can I build a better life? Or how can I become a better person? And that was great, right? I started to make progress. I started to move forward. They were definitely more empowering than the why questions of why does this always have to happen to me? Or why am I always in this position? Or why is life always like that? They were definitely more empowering like that. And I did start to gain some momentum. I started to gain some traction. Life definitely started to move forward for me. Things definitely started to come together. But then I thought about it and realized that there's even more powerful questions. Adam said, read up on Walt Disney. Yeah, we'll get into Walt Disney too. He's phenomenal. He's definitely an inspiration. But then I started looking at, well, what are some even more powerful questions that I could ask myself? Like, how could I build a better life and enjoy the process? How could I build a better self and enjoy the process? Right? The questions that we ask determine our focus. Our focus determines our entire perspective on life. It determines how we feel about ourselves, how we feel about our lives, what we feel our opportunity is, where we think things are going to go. And yet we use them so recklessly. We ask ourselves things that guarantee our mind. Look, if you ask your mind, why does this always happen to me? Your mind is going to come up with 1,000 reasons of why this always happens to you. And if you're coming up with 1,000 reasons of why this always happens to you, guess what? This is always going to happen to you, right? Look, we hear it all the time. For those that are, immersed in personal development, for those that are immersed in, the growth industry and are trying to learn empowerment philosophies, we hear it all the time. Where focus goes, energy flows, and where energy flows, it gets larger. And yet we continue to ask ourselves that focus us on negativity, that focus us on the thought that our life is a failure, that focuses on the things that we have, the ways that we haven't achieved, or the challenges that we have, instead of focusing on solutions, instead of focusing on potential, instead of focusing on what we can really do. Look, the difference between people that make it and people that don't, the people that are successful and have lives that feel fulfilling and really drive them and inspire them and motivate them and make them pop their eyes open in the morning, and those that don't, isn't where they were born, isn't what they were born with, isn't material goods, isn't what they've achieved. I mean, you can look at people at the pinnacle of what an outsider would think is the pinnacle of success. I mean, look at Elvis Presley, right? This is a guy that made millions of dollars at a time where millions really meant millions and not depreciated value, that had millions of fans, that had everything. Thank you, Daniel. I appreciate that. That had everything you could possibly, that you would think a person could possibly want in life. He had gold toilet seats, for Christ's sake, right? Had everything that a person from an outside view could possibly want, and still overdosed. Still threw his life away because of what it represented to him, because of what he saw about his life. We can see people that are born in positions of privilege that are just some of the unhappiest souls that you could ever come across. And then you see people that go through the most horrible of tragedies, that face pain and tragedy and trauma that are almost beyond human conception, that turn into the most giving, loving, and fulfilled spirits that you could ever hope to see. It's not what we have. It's not what we do. It's not where we're born. It's not what we're born with or what we do or don't possess. It's right here. It's our minds. It's our hearts. It's how we focus on what our life is or isn't. It's how we steer ourselves. And that's determined by the questions that we ask ourselves. We're not taught this stuff in school, right? We're taught algebra, geometry, history, civics. We're taught things that really don't teach us how to communicate, how to love, how to be successful, how to be fulfilled, how to be happy. We have to teach ourselves that. And our minds definitely aren't programmed for happiness or fulfillment. That's not the mind's job, or at least that wasn't the mind's job when it initially evolved. Its sole job was survival. We have to learn how to feel fulfilled. We have to show ourselves how to be happy. We have to steer ourselves to be successful, at least in the way that I define success, right? I define success as somebody that really captures the passion of life and really experiences life in a happy and fulfilled fashion. To me, that's what success is. Money for me is a byproduct, right? If you learn how to be successful enough, everything that you could possibly need will be there for you, right? For if I will take care of the birds, right? I don't know the exact quote, but he's going to provide. The universe is going to provide. We're going to have everything we need if we understand how to look for it. And it all starts with understanding how to steer where we look. And what dictates how to steer where we look is the questions that we ask ourselves. And we're constantly asking ourselves questions, sometimes consciously, sometimes subconsciously. When you're standing in the mirror in the morning shaving or putting on your makeup, what are you asking yourself? What are you telling yourself about the day? How are you steering your focus? Because it's going to have a large part of what that day represents to you, of how you feel about going into that day, and how you feel while going through that day, and how you feel at the end of that day. And that day is going to dictate how you feel about your life, because it starts to compound, right? You start to gain a momentum, and that momentum is either going to be towards happiness or towards depression and despair, right? And we get to choose. We get to dictate. We get to dictate no matter what our experience is at the moment. Look, I've read stories of individuals born with no arms, no legs, that still are just joyous and passionate about life because of how they frame their life. Hey, Coach Frank, thank you for jumping on, sir. Because of how, and Barbara, thank you for jumping on. Daniel, thank you for jumping on. I don't want to miss y'all. I'm going to go back through the comments in a second. Because of how they frame their life. And the framing of their life is determined directly by the questions that they're asking themselves, by what their focus is on. Look, I don't care how bad your circumstances are right now. If you ask yourself, what can I be grateful about right now? What could I be happy about right now? And yeah, it'd be easy to say nothing. But I would ask you, if you really wanted to be happy about something, if you really wanted to be grateful about something in your life, what could it be right now? How much, just asking yourself those two simple questions, how much could that change about the way that you feel right now? And then, if you keep asking yourself those questions time and time again, you start changing the way your neural pathways are shaped and where they go to, where your energy flows to. The truth is that we're conditioned to have this super highway just towards, hey, Miss Stephanie, just towards depression and negativity and fearfulness and lack of faith. We have a super highway. We're told the word no 70 more times in childhood than we are the word yes. That's the way that we're conditioned. Lord knows all I had was a broken dirt road towards happiness, a broken dirt road towards positivity. And day after day after day, I continue to condition myself to take energy off that highway to negativity and start building me a highway towards empowerment and positivity and growth and inspiration and passion and happiness. We have to. Nobody's going to do it for us. And it doesn't matter how good life is going, right? It doesn't matter how much you have in life, right? Elvis Presley, John Belushi. I mean, look, Robin Williams, right? People that would have it all from an outside perspective and still their life looks like a living hell to them because of the way they steer their perspective. We have to master our ship or our ship will run aground. We have to master our mind or we'll continue going down that pathway of negativity, and no matter what we achieve, no matter what we obtain, no matter what monetary success or gain, or no matter what we get, it'll still feel like a cage. It'll still feel like a prison. It'll still feel horrible. And then is that success? But we can choose. And it starts by understanding how to condition ourselves towards really feeling happy, towards really feeling positive, towards really seeing things in a positive light no matter what it is. Look, it doesn't matter what you're going through. Life is to your favor. Either you learn something or you earn something. Right? Either you grow or you gain. Right? Either which way, it's positive momentum. Life is constantly moving forward. Right? I don't remember having a day that life rewound the hands of time. Life's momentum is positivity. And all we have to do is start conditioning ourselves to see it. All right, so I got some comments. Let's go through some comments. Barbara said, one must not care, excuse me, one must not care what others think. One must be able to find the courage and strength to do change. We all face adversity at some point. It is a choice to either let it take you down or rise above. And that's exactly it. It's a choice, right? And the choice doesn't have anything to do with anybody outside of us, right? We blame it on people. We blame it on circumstances. We blame it on events. We blame it on situations. But the truth is, those events, those circumstances, those situations only mean, only represent, only symbolize to us what we choose them to, right? People... reading a story, right? Two sets of families. Both had their daughters, and Lord forbid it happened to anyone, but both had their daughters kidnapped and killed. One family went on that it devastated their life. The other family, although they still experienced the pain, they cared for their daughter just as much. They went on to build a beautiful organization. They went on to use that event as empowerment, not just for themselves, but to bring more light to the world. The only difference between the two was how they defined the situation. And I can guarantee the way that you define the situation has a lot to do with the questions that you ask yourself, because that's what steers the ship, right? That's what dictates the direction. Oh, why does this always happen to me? How can I learn from this so I don't have to go through it again? Same circumstance, same situation, different questions, different directions. Great comment, Miss Barbara. Thank you for sharing that. Daniel, great to see you back. I appreciate that, Daniel. Key question, how can I? Yes, how can I? Right? How can I? Doesn't that just open up a world of, Adam shared that question. Doesn't that just open up a world of possibility? How can I? How can I believe in myself? How can I create a life I'm happy with? How can I move forward? How can I? I like that. Barbara, believe in yourself, have the faith in yourself. Our mind is a very powerful thing. Have to change that mindset. The mind dictates everything, right? Look, it's not reality. It's our perception of reality. Because two people can go through presidential debates, right? Whole nation watching the same debate. Two very divergent opinions on each of the debates. All because of what the mind saw, not what reality was. We don't experience reality. We experience our perception of reality. And we get to dictate the perception. Miss Angelique said it's already 10:20 p.m. Well, Miss Angelique, thank you for taking the time out to jump on. I completely understand. And for everyone else, Christina, Adam, Mark, Bobby, I'm sure that they're James, Barbara, Daniel, Frank, Stephanie, Miss Annette, good morning. Miss Annette, I'm just about to jump off. Jean, thank y'all so much. Look, these are our lives. They're our responsibilities. It's up to us what we do with them. And it's not some special gene or some what we're born into or any magical wand that dictates what our lives are or how we feel or whether we're happy or not. We do. The problem is for so long we've been giving away the control of it. We've been abdicating the responsibility of it. You can't take control of your life. You can't choose happiness until you take responsibility for your life. The good news is it really doesn't take much. The process requires effort, but the keys to the process aren't very hard. Start with paying attention to the questions that you ask yourself. because they directly dictate what you look at, right? They directly dictate what you see and what you don't. Hope it helps. Thank y'all so much, man. I get so many beautiful messages, y'all. Man, y'all you have no idea how much y'all inspire me. If you found value in this, please share your thoughts, share the video. Help me get the message out there. You know, I'm trying to build a brand too, just like everyone else. You know, but in the end, I'm trying to really impact lives. And I can't impact lives if the message doesn't share. So, thank y'all so much for joining me. I appreciate it. Hope everybody's Thursday is off to a great start, or has had a great start in the case of Miss Andrew Lee, who it's 10:20, and then James, who it's afternoon over there. Hope it's been a great day. Man, I love each and every one of y'all. Thank y'all so much for joining me.